Wow, the immigrants are being blamed for destroying Paris after PSG won Champions League.
Yeah, I saw that.
But is that the real story?
I think it's mixed. You know, in a way, you take a look at what the Polish did after, when they had this major celebration. They had 50,000 people, and they were all singing in unison. They were all jumping up and down. And afterwards, when they were all done, there was just it wasn't just that there were no arrests, that there was no looting, that there was no car burning or anything like that, but they actually picked up their stuff and threw it out.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with the almost xenophobic, like afraid of immigrant stance that Poland has taken in opposition to the rest of Europe. One thing is for Poland to take, Germans or Norwegians or even Russians. But when you take a look at taking folks from environments that they don't share your values, they don't share your cultures, they have deep, rich cultures, many of them, some don't, but many of them have deep, rich cultures. But when they come in and they don't want to assimilate, then I don't know if it's so much a problem for the immigrants themselves, although I think we can get into that. I think it's the children of the immigrants, at least when it comes to France, because France has such a colonial history where, they colonized all of North Africa. And then they brought a whole lot of those folks up in the 50s to work in the automobile manufacture and building refrigerators, to rebuild after World War II. And then when all those jobs went to Asia, they left all these people in poverty in the suburbs around Paris. And most of them around Paris. And, what are they going to do? They feel like they're people without a country. So that's a different immigration. That's an immigration from the colonial times. But I think what made this different, because, sure, there's a lot of people of North African descent that are, hooligans in and around Paris. But I think this one's a little different. I think that has to do with the recent immigration where they just opened the gates and just let floods of people come into Europe.
Yeah, so when they do that, and I think we talked about that in a previous podcast, it's like when you don't have any standards or you don't have any type of indoctrination process, then people don't have any pride in their country. It's like you can just come in, if you if you were like living, I'm going to say, call it a halfway house or anything like that, or even almost like a brothel where you just come and go.
Yeah.
You don't have any sense of pride and stuff like that because there's no barrier. There's no sense of accomplishment to actually be a part of this country or that country in particular. And I think that without having any type of a process, it prevents people from having any type of pride in their country.
So France is a funny situation because they're kind of unique. They don't categorize. They don't take when they take demographic records. They don't categorize anything about ethnicity or this kind of thing. They just say male or female, and so it's really hard to track these things. But one of the reasons France does this, I believe, is that they have historically been really anti-immigration. They believe in you're French or you're not. And it doesn't matter how many generations you've been here. You're either French or you're not. So to see them do this now, the only thing that I can think of, which is kind of like an economic reason, and that is that since the birth rate in France is going to have population collapse, just like it's going to be all across Europe. We're right there too. We're right behind them. We're at 2.1 kids per family. But France and the UK and Italy and all the other countries, they're well below 2. They're like 1.5. I think Italy's might be 1.1.
So what is their population growth roughly? So
their population growth is a negative growth. It's going to decrease because really, if you have a man and a woman, you need at least 2 people because there might be a death there.
I get it.
You need at least two people to replace that man and woman in order to provide the tax base so that when that man and woman become retirees, there's people putting money into the stock market to fund their 401ks or the equivalent in France, or the paying taxes into the pension program they have in France so that these folks can get their money. Otherwise, without the tax base, without new people coming in and paying taxes, that's a problem. The other problem they have is with inflation. It's very inflationary to not have that many workers chasing all these jobs. So it turns out that the workers aren't chasing jobs. It's the employers are chasing the workers, and that causes a ratcheting up of what you pay these people. So you can see, like if it happened here in this country, you could see the equivalent of, instead of paying $18 an hour here in California, in LA, to have somebody work the counter at McDonald's, you're talking about, if there's only half the number of people around to do it, and half the number of people that are willing to do it, you might be paying $35, $40, $45, and that's extremely inflationary on the economy. So a big part of it is we're going to bring in immigrants just to keep wages down. That was very unpopular to say to the people, because it's like, what do you mean you're going to keep my wages down? Well, after all this flooding of cash into the market, both in Europe and the United States and around the world during COVID, just to give people free money, well, now there's a price to pay. And the price to pay is we would have disastrous inflation right now were it not for wage suppression.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I ask you this question then. So if we got all these immigrants coming in, especially this new flood of immigrants, do you feel like, and you've been to Paris a lot, and I've been to Paris a lot also, do you feel like they believe they're part of the French? Do you believe they believe they're French, or they believe they're something else? They believe that they're an outsider.
These folks can't help but believe they're outsiders. That's just their frame, only because they came in like that. In a way, going back to what I know about immigration in this country at the turn of the last century, when you had all the Irish, the German, the Jewish immigrants, the Italians, I don't know that they felt like they were part of the American experience either. But they did know that this was a place where they had to make their future, because they could not go home. It was too hostile for them for a number of reasons: economic, maybe environmental, folks around them were starting to oppress them. Whatever the reason, coming here was their best option, and they knew it. So they behaved like that. I don't know that they're really doing that, the immigrants that are coming into Europe. I'm thinking that maybe they're being welcomed a little bit too superficially. And by that I mean, if somebody welcomes you and gives you, a pie and cake and steak and all these things, instead of giving you, we're glad you're here, let me help you, you come from a different culture, we really want you to assimilate, we want you to make your life here. Instead of giving them that, they just giving them freebies.
Free cash, free social services.
So if you go to any place and somebody's giving you stuff for free that is valuable, suddenly the value will ratchet down. Like if you went to buy a new car, you were going to buy a nice Mercedes S550. That's going to run you about 140, 150. So you go in there, and they decide to roll out a Rolls Royce at 700,000, but give it to you for 150 brand new, just cause. Then that Rolls is going to have a little less value for you. It's going to be a $150,000 Rolls, not a $600,000 Rolls, and you won't be able to help feeling that way about it.
So you're saying naturally people value what they place a value on what they pay for
100%
for the item or for the ticket into Paris, or
whatever the effort is, or whatever the cost is, or whatever anything is.
So there's no effort, there's no cost. Like I said earlier, they just treat it as if it's like a boarding house. I said halfway house or a brothel, but more like a boarding house. Like it just come and go as they please, and they don't have no respect for the environment.
100%. 100%. It's like the town bicycle. Everybody's going to ride it, but nobody's going to maintain it. Which is usually an analogy. It's usually a saying for a different category, but we can use it here too.
Yes, I get it. Yeah, I get it. So what do you think is the solution for not only for Europe and also in the United States of America and other parts of the world where immigration is a problem? And the immigrants are causing a lot of this, like I'm gonna say destruction, but more like they're anti their country, they're anti-nationalist almost in a country, which is very odd. It's like you're being in a home that you hate.
Well, that's the problem. At least in our country, a lot of young people seem to be anti-American.
Oh, a lot. I
don't know that it's huge numbers, but it's very loud numbers.
It's very loud. Yes.
A lot of the media that we experience is from these young people that are far from patriots. It's it's a problem. It may not seem like a problem now, but it's definitely going to be a problem because that's part of what makes the national identity. It's like if there were no penalty for men to divorce. Obviously there's a penalty now because the family court really favors in most cases it favors the lady, the spouse. But if there were no penalties, if the family court would just treat the whole thing differently, and if men were to climb high enough so that they had access to a lot of opportunity to step out on their spouses, would they do it willingly and freely if they knew that if they get found out and they get divorced, they wouldn't be losing half? Would they do it more? So a lot of it has to do with, I think, with of the solution is really instilling in folks, this is a much better situation than you came from. You will never have as good a situation as this, meaning in the West. You can go anywhere else in the world, but you will never have a more free situation than you do here in the West. You will never have a place where you're accepted more than here in the West. Yes, there's going to be some bigotry, some prejudice from some categories of society, but for folks to stand here and say that the United States or even France or the UK is a hostile place to immigrants and people of color, I think that's completely wrong-headed. There's a lot of places that are a whole lot worse, for folks that aren't like everybody else. You can't have too much success being a trans person and going to Gaza and handing out, meals. You're not going to have success doing that if you consider success being alive with all your limbs intact. That's not going to happen. So it's a perfectly fine environment that we have here for most folks, and because we can create our own little bubbles with our own people, and no one's going to bother us.
You dismiss me because I'm trans.
Yeah.
I don't think you won't be dismissed. You get killed.
You get dismissed right off the roof of an apartment building. Is what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's for real.
So what you're saying is that especially in these countries such as the United States and in Europe, in a lot of parts of Europe, maybe unlike Warsaw, with social media and all that stuff, people are kind of like getting caught up in this victim card.
Oh yeah.
It's easy to be the victim, and always being the victim, it gives us that mindset that the grass is always greener on the other side.
Well, that's real. We've seen that a lot here in this country, especially with the young people.
Yeah.
And it's not all young people. It's just the loud ones, unfortunately.
Yes.
It's the Marxist ideology, whereby in any two-person exchange, there's always one oppressor and one oppressed.
Yeah, so it's a zero-sum game.
It's a zero-sum game. One guy's got to be the oppressor, one guy's got to be oppressed. So if you see two people sitting down across the table from each other, you can play the game. Okay, who's the oppressor and who's being oppressed?
Yeah.
And in some cases, it may switch back and forth. But when you talk about a larger population, these young people can't help but feel that they're oppressed because there's real virtue, at least according to them, in victimhood. They never say it like this, but that's really what comes off. The first thing they do is they start saying, my truth. It's like, there's no phrase really in modern world I hate more than my truth. Because it's how I see things is this. That's different. But my truth, no. Truth is objective. And people are going to light up and say, no, it's not objective. Well, the complete truth is objective. For example, I'm here staring at a camera, and all I see is the front, and I could define it precisely, but I can't see the back, so I can't define the back. However, what I understand of the truth, the whole truth exists of some unknown back and what I see in the front. Somebody sitting on the other side, he would have the reverse impression. His known reality would be the back of it and some unknown front, because he'd never see the front. So if the two of us get together and we sit down and we make a contract on how we're going to split the proceeds, and then I can explain to him what I see from my view, he explains what he sees from his view, I know he's true because he's seeing what I can't, and he knows I'm true because I'm seeing what he can't. We get together and we make a fortune because now we understand the whole thing entirely. It's not my truth, your truth. There is the truth, and it's just the little part that I'm able to see about it. That's as simple as that. Sometimes the little part that I see about it gives a total misimpression. You know, if I see a lady with torn clothes running, that's all I see, I'll think, oh my gosh, we got to call the police. But if you see the part where her husband is covered in rose petals and he's in a silk robe and he's laughing and he's holding the champagne and she's running, and then we get to see what she's running and upset about. She's upset because she didn't bring the strawberries. So she's running to get the strawberries. So we don't know what we're seeing. We just see a little slice of the truth. So we need to see more of the truth so we get a better idea, so we don't start thinking that there's something bad going on here when maybe there's not.
But do you think it's even deeper than that? Do you think that maybe that now we live in a country that's so like individualized and everybody's worrying about their perspective, their lives? There's no more sense of community. There's no group effort anymore. Everybody's just no collective effort anymore. Everything is about me, or maybe I hang out with my little subgroup, my little gang. And then if you even say something opposite of what I believe in, what our gang believe in, we're gonna go to war.
Well, there's a lot of that too. Absolutely. You know, I think that's got to do with the bubbles that we've made through social media. And we just keep watching the same stuff, and the algorithm, the way that works.
But that's so they can market us more easily
because it keeps feeding us the stuff that we like to watch.
So we can buy this because we know that, and it's easier for them to market us. They don't have to have a commercial targeted toward everybody. They can have a commercial targeted toward people who have this specific interest.
That's it. That's it. So like if I'm watching Eric Bogosian for 3 days in a row, and I see maybe 15 or 20 short videos, 5-minute videos that he produces, or 10 videos. Then on the third day, I'm going to get a lot of skeptical, maybe a little bit more anti-woke kinds of stuff coming up on my feed than maybe I ordinarily would, because I'm watching one particular kind of thing. So if you do this enough, as everybody knows, I'm not telling people that something they don't know, then your whole feed is going to be stuff like that. Like if you start going for affirmations on Instagram, then in about 3 days, all you've got is affirmations. Affirmation after affirmation after affirmation. It's the way the algorithm works. So it puts us in these little bubbles, in these little boxes. And, that's not healthy. Although the good news is, and here's what I think is going to happen. I think Generation Z and Generation Alpha, the ones that came after, they're the ones that are going to really be the natural saviors of this, because more and more young people, like the younger Generation Z, they don't want to have that much to do with AI. They like to use it. They like to use it to build stuff, but they don't want to see stuff that's AI. That stuff to them is kind of cringy. And it probably even more so it'll be with Generation Alpha. So as soon as AI completely takes over the social media like Instagram, and every now and then you'll see a picture of somebody that you know, but for the most part it's going to be this AI generated content, then I would think you're going to see Generation Z abandon Instagram the way they've already abandoned dating apps.
And there's probably going to be another platform out there that's going to be all authentic.
It's going to be authentic,
all non-AI stuff.
It may be face-to-face stuff for a while.
Exactly.
It may be kids just hanging out again.
That'd be a great thing.
That would be so good.
Hopefully they don't start any riots though.